Hey guys, welcome back to Inside the Storm. I'm your host Zane, and today we've got a wonderful show lined up for you. We're going to be hitting all the major talking points from the Storm's Match Week 15 trip to Keilor Wolves, as well as previewing Match Week 16 against Darebin at home, and all the major talking points along the way. Let's get straight into it. Match Week 15 saw the squad take on Keilor Wolves in a huge game. Keilor Wolves coming in with an extremely good form, extremely good record, sitting in second place, 1 point behind first, and the Storm sitting in 8th going into the game. So a really, really big game, a huge chance for the Storm to build some momentum from their win the previous week against Meadow Park and stabilize themselves into the middle of the table and look to pushing towards that, 5th, 6th place and move up the table, whereas Keilor was going obviously for the league, and they had that extra motivation, that bit of pressure. And you really saw that in the game started. I think the first 15, 20 minutes, the intensity that Keilor brought out was just, unbelievable how aggressive and direct and energetic they were. And I think that definitely caught the Storm by surprise a little bit, because there wasn't a complacency on their end or any kind of underestimation of their opponent. They really came out swinging. They came out extremely hard and extremely positive. And I think the first 15, 20 minutes away from home against a top team is really about, containment and kind of assessing the qualities of the other team. And definitely you saw that in the game, because they did come out with a real vigor almost. And so it was quite difficult for the Storm in those opening 15, 20 minutes, and you definitely saw that. And unfortunately, in the first 10 minutes to defend relatively well and then concede a corner is really unlucky, and away from home, something like that. Just if that happens in the first 10 minutes, so that goes away and one of those early chances goes in, then it becomes a whole different game. And definitely the rest of the first half was about that kind of containment and going into the second half and being able to make some adjustments at halftime. And to stabilize a little bit, but overall, even the first half, it went quite positively after those opening 25 minutes. I think the Storm really settled in. They were able to start playing their brand of football. They were able to control possession and fashion a couple of half chances and a couple of promising positions on counterattacks. And so it was definitely positive. Ending off that first half after that first kind of volley of Keilor pressure for the first 25 minutes, and that was really positive to see that the squad could buckle in under pressure and really, really focus and be solid defensively, and they really were. I mean, barring that corner and a couple chances, the Storm did defend very, very well, and you saw Jason have some big saves. You saw Sammy pull off some really great last-minute tackles. So did Zach and James. And so the backline as a whole, really, even Birdie, they had really, really strong games in that first half under a lot of pressure. It was more just about, with the ball, could the Storm actually fashion chances for themselves, which I think they struggled with a little bit against a really, really energetic, high-pressing, aggressive Keilor team. And I think that was the adjustment at halftime, was to be more proactive with the ball, be more positive with the ball, and a little stronger with the ball. And I think in terms of making better choices, and we saw that echoed in the messaging by Khalid and Nick and even the players. They felt they could definitely play a little more. And I think there was an element of respect given to Keilor that was obviously warranted, but could have been played around a little better. But overall, yeah, a relatively consistent first half. And I think the second half as well, actually, the Storm had very, very positive periods, and unfortunately, I think minute 72 giving away a penalty off a mistake, which happens on occasion, and definitely an unlucky moment, because at 2-0 at 70 minutes, and it just becomes much harder to play out. And I think Keilor had that kind of comfortability and stability with a 2-goal lead that they would be able to see it out, and I think that kind of killed the momentum a little bit, because up until that point, I think the Storm had really positive phases, and after that penalty, it really hurt momentum. Obviously, a tough game in terms of injuries. You had Gorky out and Jack, so you had a captain and a highly productive top player, and so it was really, really difficult for the Storm to kind of work around that and adjust that, especially losing your captain and that voice and that positivity that Jack brings and his individual quality, and then obviously Gorky's quality in the final third and his energy and his pace. missing Marcellus as well. So a lot of quality was missing, and unfortunately, away from home in those kind of moments, missing that kind of quality can be really, really detrimental. And I think that is one of the reasons for the loss. But overall, I think strong positives in terms of playing the top side in the league, or top two side in the league, closely and competitively, and definitely overall, going away from home, being able to put a performance in on a Friday night, there were definitely positives in that.
Yeah, it was a very difficult game. They pressed us high from the start. They had lots of energy, lots of athleticism. Unfortunately, we conceded a goal off of a corner kick, which is something that we have to fix. And then in the second half, we got caught and ended up committing a penalty and conceding there as well. So two set pieces. I thought the boys worked really hard, but lots to improve on for next week.
It was a tough game, to be honest. Obviously, Keilor Wolves are one of the better teams in the league. We really showed up for the challenge. It was just unfortunate that we couldn't get one on the board. I think that's all it was. The second half of the game, we were chasing that one goal, left our team a bit open, and then they ended up scoring the second. Score doesn't really reflect the game. I think it was quite an even game. Both teams had their chances. It's just a matter of Keilor Wolves being more clinical. Good signs, though, against a tough team. So the rest of the season, we should just have even more positive results.
Match week 16 sees the Storm take on Darebin at home, and a really, really good opportunity for the Storm to really progress up that table. Obviously, after the loss against Keilor, currently sitting tied for 9th, so still in safety from the relegation spots, but still not in the position that the club or the squad wants to be in, and definitely an opportunity to move up and progress. And I think currently a 8-point gap between the Storm and Darebin. So a really good chance to close that gap between the top of the table, between the upper mid table, and start progressing up and really establish safety and progression, which would be a huge opportunity and strength for the squad overall. And definitely a really winnable game. I think last time away from home, Darebin came out with a real intensity, and I think the Storm just had a really off day that day away from home. I think that was the first major away trip where the squad struggled. And I think it's been a really big incremental improvement from the squad game by game. And I think going into this game, it's a really good opportunity for revenge with a bunch of starters returning who were absent last week, with the extra motivation of, the squad can play against the top teams in the league competitively, as they demonstrate against Keilor, and they can be competitive and they can be strong. So definitely a huge opportunity for them to get points against Darebin side, who've been slightly inconsistent, winning games, but also losing games, and I think their form has slightly dipped since the midway point of the season. Similar to the Storm, both sides have been relatively inconsistent in the past 5 games. So definitely, I think it'll come down to a battle of who wants it more, and obviously playing that at home and having that advantage of knowing the pitch, having the home fans really, really helps out. And definitely, I think it's a big opportunity to establish safety. And so the goal really is to go out there, win on both ends, seniors and reserves, and establish some good momentum. Going to the last 7 games, the business end of the season, it's all about momentum and driving forward. And obviously, the sooner safety can be established for the squad, the more complacent they can be in terms of not looking below, but looking above. And I think that's the goal, is to move up the table, not be worried about dropping down. And so ultimately, the goal is just win as many games as possible, move up that table, get into 4th, 5th, 6th, in those kind of positions, be safe, and start building towards next season and the goals for the next season and the fight back for next season. So overall, really, really a good opportunity for a game to come at a good time against a good side, but definitely a very, very winnable side. So yeah, all indications are the squad's worked extremely hard, bouncing back really well after the game against Keilor, focused on Darebin this week. So really, really exciting stuff. If you guys can come down, your support would mean everything to the squad. And if you can't, check out the live stream, check out the highlights. There's always content around the match days. But yep, so reserves kick off 1 o'clock, seniors kick off at 3 at the AW Bond Reserve. If you can come down, show your support, come be a marshal, help out. There's always things to do on a match day. But really, really good energy, and if we can bring that at home, then it'll be a really, really good game. Thank you so much. I've been your host, Zane, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.